Glad you could all join us. So our topic today is, what advice would you give a brand new driver coming into the industry? And yeah, I got a few pieces of advice here. One of the most stressful parts of any truck driver's day is getting pulled into the weigh station. DriveWise helps eliminate that stress with their pre-clear technology. It works on all major ELDs or as an app on your phone. DriveWise is now offering a 30-day free trial on DriveWise Pre-Clear. Check them out at drivewise.com. So what do you think? What advice would you give someone brand new coming into the industry? John M. is here. We may now begin. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Cabano 960 is here. Daniel Meredith is here. My advice, make sure trucking is something you really want to do. It's not for everyone. That's from Daniel Meredith, and that's certainly a valid point. That is something you should say to new potential drivers. Good advice. Garrett Burns, my advice, don't get COVID. Currently getting some extra unwanted home time. Oh, man. Sorry, Garrett. That's happening to a lot of guys. Controlled chaos down with COVID as well. The cat says, my advice is to have another employment option as a backup. Good advice from him, or from the cat. Cliff Beckwith, hello from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Thunderstorm 87, never wear flip-flops and bring an extra pair of shoes or boots. Yeah, that's good. Never wear flip-flops and bring it. Yep. SoCal, be patient and be flexible. So there's some good advice. And I was going to ask, SoCal, are you back to work now? Or are you through the recovery stage? And how's George? But more importantly, are you back to work? Stay calm and never rush. That's really good advice from Mike. That is good. That sounds like something I would think of. Only I hadn't yet, so better yet. Jay and Moon, to new drivers, don't be a douchebag and block other drivers in the fueling island, rest areas, or whatever. That's good advice. That's very apt advice. Wayne Blue says, learn to use an atlas as well as paper logs. God, you guys have got some good ones here. John M., research the job before you think about becoming one. Yes. Find out just exactly what it is you're getting into before you dive, because you hate to spend thousands on driving school then just to find out that the job is a complete surprise. SoCal's still at home. Next surgery is 6 days. Wow. Kyle's here. Get an attorney to help you with tickets, no matter how small. They'll really hurt you in the long run. Kyle Gentile, good advice. That is good advice. And I wouldn't have thought of that. But yeah, good one, Kyle. Good catch. Don't drive 55 in the left-hand lane. Billy Crystal. That is good advice. That is good advice from Billy Crystal. Stay away from the mega carriers, says Edward, unless necessary to get your experience. Use them like they use other drivers. Yeah. Mentorship, says Matthew. Yeah. I've always believed in that. I don't know why the industry hasn't truly adopted that, because that was how we all learned back in my day, and it was great. But a tradition that's gone. Thunderstorm 87, practice good hygiene. Yes, sir. Yes. Roger Penske. Hey, Roger, here's some advice. You have two choices. You can either quit or run away. A positive note from Roger. Thanks, Roger. Glad you could join us. Kyle says, learn to chain before you need to chain. Kyle, that's another good one. Yeah. Yep. Practice doing it before you need to do it. Yep. Work on it in a dry parking lot on a sunny day when you've got the time, rather than when you're spun out on the side of the hill. It's much nicer. Fred says, advice to new drivers is to learn time management. Very critical with ELDs to maximize your earning potential. Now, there's some sound advice from a senior driver, and it's excellent advice. And we've talked about that before with the ELDs and time management, and that's huge these days because you've just got a certain window that you've got to maximize for maximized revenue. That's excellent point from Fred. Gunsmoke 68. Take your time in parking lots and when backing. Do not worry about impressing other drivers. Gunsmoke. Yeah, that's good advice. Take your time, do it carefully, get out and look as often as you need to, because you don't want to whack into something. You just don't want it. It's embarrassing. It's costly. You don't want it to happen to you. Jay says, watch out for trees and power lines. And that's especially true in some types of trucking, like dump trucks, for instance. Always struggle with hooking power lines, or if you've got a high load on a flatbed or something like that. Watch your clearance and watch the trees and stuff. But the power lines especially. I know some of the crane guys every once in a while get tangled up in power lines and with disastrous results. Plan where you're going to park every day so you don't get stuck. That's from Edward. Yeah. Do trip planning. I'm a big believer in trip planning, so you don't get a surprise and get stranded out in the middle of nowhere with no parking. Million Miler. Here's a good one. Learn your turning radius in your trailer swing. Yeah. Be familiar with your equipment so you know what corners it'll go around and what won't, and you can tell by looking at it first before getting halfway around and finding out then you're not going to make the corner, the swing. So Million Miler, that's a good one, and I hadn't thought of that. Learn your turning radius and your trailer swing. Know your equipment. Excellent advice. I'd say research the hell out of the job that you are looking at getting into, so there are no surprises. Learn as much as you can. That's my advice, and thanks for joining us, Douglas. Appreciate it. Whenever making turns, watch what your trailer is doing. That's from SoCal. Yep. Yeah, all sorts of guys will make a corner and whack a car with the back end of the 53. It happens a lot. It shouldn't if you're watching what you're doing. Yeah, good one, SoCal. Edward says, learn how to fix simple things on your truck so you're not waiting on the roadside for something you can fix yourself. Exactly right, Edward. Yes. You can sit, and I've seen guys sit hours and hours and hours for something that you could just patch and limp it to the truck stop. It's so simple. Carry a few simple things with you: Ziplocs, duct tape, hose clamps, wrenches, tools, that type of thing. 9 times out of 10 you can get yourself out of trouble. Yeah, good advice, Edward. Jody Spencer, don't allow companies to push you to run over your hours of service and say it's okay. Yeah, Jody's right there, and we've got a whole other video coming up about that. But just don't allow yourself to be pushed, because it's you and no one else that will suffer the consequences of that. So it might help them out, but it harms you. Roger says good maintenance, prevention, and getting paid zero. Yeah, I know, Roger. Sometimes it doesn't pay what it should, but it can keep you out of trouble. Captain Nice Guy's here. Hey, man. My advice: get your first year in with the least disreputable mega carrier, and then head to a company that actually treats their drivers like people rather than numbers like GP Transco. That's pretty good advice. Do what you got to do to get the ticket, get a little experience, get some seat time, and then go to a company that you like, that's going to treat you well if you haven't started with one. Grilled Mortal is here. The best place to park is home. Try the job for a week before you dive in the ocean. Yeah, I hear you there, Grilled Mortal, but sometimes parking at home doesn't pay the bills, but I'd have to agree. Million Miler says, do pre, mid, and post-trip inspections. Like keeping an eye on the equipment is what he's talking about, and he's right. Shannon says, do not start arguments with the DOT. Yeah, you never win one of those. Just nod your head, yes sir, be polite, take your lumps, and get out of there as quick as can. If you're going to fight it in court. Don't fight it with the DOT on the side of the road. You never win those. Brad Powell. So the only way to get experience is to do long haul through a mega carrier? No, Brad, that's not necessarily true. It's one of the easier options these days, but no, it's not the only way to get experience. All sorts of people have friends or family members that drive truck for a living, and I'd far recommend that over paying a mega carrier not to do a good job of teaching you. SoCal says, don't have a bunch of crap on your dash. It's a first-class ticket to the inspection bay. Yeah. And you see some of these guys with clutter and crap all over the dash. Nobody likes to see that. You shouldn't have it. In fact, you get the wrong inspector, he'll say it's blocking your view and write you a ticket for that. But you keep a clean truck. By God, you live in there. I would like to say that I was more than impressed with all the good input and feedback we got over this stream today. All sorts of drivers contributed really worthwhile tips for new guys. I hope we had a whole bunch of new guys watching, because this was valuable stuff today, and that's the kind of stuff I like to get accomplished from a stream. So